Hey, FKA Twigs. You know, when I found out about that FKA Twigs, I stopped looking at Shia. I am no tolerance when it comes to abuse because my father used to beat my mother, and my mother told me this since I was 7. There was no filter with my mother. I was her psychologist since I was about 7. And she told me if a man hits you once, then they'll hit you again. So you have to leave after the first time because the police won't do anything. So FKA Twigs, I have to tell you something. God woke me up November 2021 in Celebration, Florida, in a room that was themed Mickey Mouse. I was at a family reunion by myself on some bunk beds when God reminded me I'm Mary Magdalene looking for Jesus. And I scanned every man that I could possibly think of. Matthew Sterling was on the list. He had looked at a picture of me and my aunt that day. And it came back to Shia LaBeouf. And the first thing I said when God said, it's Shia, the first thing I said was, okay, well then the FKA Twigs scandal is fake. It's a setup. And you know, Miss Twigs, God reveals it wasn't fake. He actually really did do that. And he did that for a reason. Why did it take you so long to leave him, FKA Twigs? Was it his power over you? Was it the fact that he's an actor who pretty much hired you? You know, that was his pattern. Choosing to cohabitate with actresses who were his co-stars. So my question for you, FKA Twigs, you're so brave coming forward with these abuse allegations. I know they really happened, but my question for you and for everyone is why did you let it go on so long where it was a long list of all these things he has done to you? Why didn't you stop at the first red flag, Miss B? Why didn't you stop at the first red flag? Why did you keep going up until you got to a point where you could escape quietly and then have the courage to come forward? He made it a point, FKA Twigs, to prove how women sell their souls to men. You sold your soul, and that's why you got abused. And so many women do the same exact thing. How do we feel sorry for you, FKA Twigs, and all women who enable their partner's abuse by not leaving at the first red flag? If you leave at the first red flag, you wouldn't have been so traumatized by speeding on the highway with nobody there to help you when he pulled into a gas station. Gaslighting with women is incredibly serious. And for some reason, the norm is to blame the woman. For some reason, when men abuse us, the women are blamed. My ex, Brandon Kraft, he's from upstate New York by Canada. When we were breaking up, he started abusing me. He threw out all my clothes on the front lawn of his house. He started abusing me. And I had to Google what is domestic abuse for me to realize, oh fuck, this is abuse. And I tell you, I called my mom, I called my brother, I called people in my family. And you know what, FKA Twigs? They all somehow found a way to explain on the phone how it's my fault, how I must have done something to Brandon to deserve it. So that is why, what is it, Miss Barlett or Miss Barnett? I don't know your real name, but Twiggy says you go by Twigs. Also, JFK, his sister, the one with the lobotomy, she says it's really, really important to show how men here have the power and they use it to abuse women and get away with it. They get away with it. And that's why he abused you, FKA Twigs, to show how all men get away with abusing women. Harvey Weinstein. So FKA Twigs, if you want to go ahead and drop that lawsuit, he was proving a point. God doesn't give you more than you can handle. And you asked for it. Oh, that hurts so bad for a woman to be told she asked for the abuse. But that's what they told me, my family, when I was dating Brandon and I called and asked for help. He's God in human form, FKA Twigs. What if God was one of us? Just a slob like one of us? He wasn't allowed to show himself until December 7th, 2022. He wasn't allowed to show himself. So FKA Twigs, I make this in November 2022, being able to see the future and knowing that in December, you'll see this and you'll understand and you'll admit, I should have probably prayed for my husband instead of PREYED. I should have actually got on my knees and asked God who my husband is. Because if you don't, you end up in toxic, abusive marriages that are otherwise known as lies. If you did not pray for your wife or husband and got married, if you don't do it now, you're most likely going to be divorced when God shows his face here, because God is the only judge here. God is the only king. His son, Jesus, who will now take the face of Leonardo DiCaprio. I had to really make it a point for all the neo-Nazis, because they're going to be like Leo now. And I really need them to look through the color of his hair, his eyes, and his skin. And I need them to imagine Leonardo DiCaprio as a black man, because black power is king here. So remember that, FKA Twigs, when you call your lawyer and have them drop the lawsuit, because he did it to prove a fucking point. And Mia Goth knows. Mia Goth is very aware. In fact, Mia Goth was Jesus' younger sister. Mia Goth was Jesus' youngest sister, the sweetest one. FKA Twigs, it's complicated explaining who I am. And Rabbi David G reminds me that I shouldn't explain who I am. But if you want to get on your knees and you can ask God, who is this girl? He'll say either I am Virgin Mary or I am Mary Magdalene. Either way, FKA Twigs, I need you to know that this dog is a Nazi spy named Coco Chanel. And I am Mother Mary. I'm a spirit medium, among other things. I met Shia LaBeouf outside of his house in Pasadena this summer, and he'll tell you that I'm a metaphysical healer. And I'm going to marry Leonardo DiCaprio first, so God can retire and no longer have to be an actor around people like FKA Twigs.